What is up, you guys, and welcome to the Basement Dwellers podcast. This is episode 1. I have a special guest. His name is Trace Aurland. He's one of my best, if not my brother, if not a family member that's not blood related, which is okay, because you have people like that in your life. But I decided that he will be the first guest on my first episode. So, how's life been? How's it been, being a dad, actually? To me, that's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Well, I never planned to be one. I always said that I wouldn't be, but it's actually everything opposite of what I expected it to be, because I figured it would be just like constantly being like controlled and not really having any type of freedom or being able to do anything. But it's dope. It's like you get to live the life that you lived before a kid, but you just got a little buddy with you. So, and plus my kid's the coolest. So she's the
I
shit.
remember like years ago when we would be talking about like, oh, when we're grown, we're not gonna have any kids. We're just gonna be just kind of like fucking around and stuff. But shit happens, right?
It does.
But hey, to be honest though, like, I don't know what it's like to be a parent because I don't have like a kid. I have 2 dogs that I've raised since they were puppies, so we can kind of in a certain correlation or whatever, we can kind of relate in a way. But I guess it's like it may be a little harder to raise a human being than a puppy. Would you agree?
It is. You won't be able to understand what it's like to be a parent till you become one. Because I was always told that. They're like, my mom always said too, she's like, the love you have for parents, siblings, friends, significant other, pets, teachers, whatever, anything. She's like, it's not a love that you can understand until you actually have one. So it's dope though.
So, like, since you've had your child, like, has that been more motivation for you to keep going forward with your music, or have you always had that motivation even like before, your child was brought into the world?
Well, yeah, I've never, like, losing my uncle there for a little bit, I lost it because I lost all my recordings at the same time, but I've never really, like, lost the drive. I've always just stayed focused and known exactly what I want in life, and it's always been, that's been like my only dream. So but having her definitely helped push it up a little bit more. Like, it gives me a sense of purpose, and I'm not like, I've never felt either like, oh, I don't have any purpose on this earth, but if I did, then she would definitely take that away too, because it just, you feel a whole new sense of like purpose and drive, and I don't know. It's a feeling that it's dope. It's dope. I feel like when you're young, you have all these dreams and aspirations and stuff, and then as you get older, a lot of people lose that dream. But it's like the inspiration and positive outlook you have on life as a kid before you realize what reality is. Having a kid gives me that outlook on life again. Like, I look at shit in a way more positive way because it's, having her is just dope. It brings a whole new light to life that I may not have had before.
Yeah, that's actually a good way of putting it, because like, some people will just have kids just for the sake of just, having a kid just to pass on their legacy or their bloodline or whatever.
Yeah.
And some people aren't like, fit to be a parent, and some people aren't ready. But in your case, like,
For sure.
Like, your kid wasn't planned, but even after even after your child was born, like, it's like you fit into the father figure so perfectly. Like, not saying that like, you knew what you were doing at first, but it was like instinct kicked in. Like, you knew what you were supposed to do. You were always there for your child.
Yeah. Well,
always taking care.
I didn't know off top, but I picked up on routine quickly. I picked up on what all needed to be done and stuff like that, because my mom is, she's the shit. She instilled in me what I feel like all parents should instill in their kids, which is like, love and I don't know, just she definitely raised me right, basically. So it wasn't like I was the type that was like, oh, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, or I'm not fit to be a parent. Like I've got it in me, and I told her and I tell everybody else I plan on being the best dad that there is. So
I mean, yeah, of course. Like, I mean, I'm pretty sure at times it's, kind of hard, or like kind of like, there's times where you probably don't get enough sleep at night.
The first 2 months.
First 2 months?
First 2 months are the worst.
How old is your child?
She's 6 months.
Oh, Jesus, man.
She was born April 6th.
I feel like she was just born like 2 weeks ago. I don't know why.
Yeah. Yeah, she
man.
She's like, I don't have any other kids besides her, so I don't have any prior experience to be able to base how she is as opposed to like another kid. But mom's obviously has 3 and has helped raise a ton of kids. So she's got plenty of experience to be able to say. And she said, she was like, your kid, she was like, you got so lucky. Your kid is like one of the most well-behaved kids. Because besides those first 2 months where she was waking up every 2 hours or so, she does not cry at all unless she's like starving, tired, or stuff like she don't really get fussy. She's the coolest. She's like, go with the flow. Put her in the car, put on some music, get the car rolling, and she's chill. Like we coming from Illinois, that was like a 6.5 hour drive to get here. She ain't fussed the whole time.
That's crazy.
We stopped halfway through, changed her diaper and stuff like that. She's chilling.
That's crazy because, like, like some kids, especially like when a parent is like, on like a long road trip, maybe 6 hours, maybe even like if, like from Lexington to Florida is like, what, like a 13, 12-hour drive? Mm-hmm. I'm not like 100% sure on that. But
I know it's longer than 6 hours.
Yeah, that's a really, actually, if I'm not mistaken, because I did go to distant Florida with my neighbors. Oh, man, that was like 10 years ago. That was like, I think a little bit, that was way before I met you because Spencer had just moved in with us. He had his long hair. He had that like duct taped. I didn't
know Spencer lived with you before I met you.
Dude, he lived with us for like almost 3 years.
Before I met you?
Yeah, dude, it's the funniest. Actually, I think it was, no, it was a little after I met you. Wasn't it maybe like a year after I met you, maybe 2 years after I met you? I'm not 100% sure, but I do remember.
What I was going to say.
I do remember it was like around that time.
Yeah.
So, but like
2013-ish, maybe.
Maybe somewhere around there.
We met in 2012, so.
Yeah, like maybe like a year after, maybe 2 years after. But I'll never forget because like Sammy was working with him at Kroger, and him and his, I guess, the place he was living at, the people who were living there, they kind of got into it. Yeah. And he got kicked out, and so he had nowhere to live. And this was around the time, you remember, yeah, I did know you back then because we had those neighbors that were throwing them fucking house parties next door. And I remember you walked out to move your car, and the dude ran out in the towel because his 2 puppies ran up on you. You remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Those Avery's people.
Yeah, he started living with us, and like the next morning when Sammy brought him here, like the night that he brought him here, the next morning he went to go use the bathroom, and my dad woke up and he was like, "Who the fuck are you?" My dad was about to fight him, and Sammy woke up and he was like, yo, that's just somebody that I brought from work. He had nowhere else to stay. So my dad kicked them both the fuck out, and my mom was in Dubai at the time, and then when she came back the first time,
so wait, Spencer's originally Sammy's friend before yours?
Yeah, but me and him grew closer. I don't know how. That's so weird, isn't it? That's so fucking weird.
I've never even seen Sammy and Spencer really like chill like that.
Right? I mean, they're cool. You know what I'm saying? Like they're close and everything. They're like like brothers, just like me and you are. You know what I mean? And just like me and him are. But it's like the majority of the time that he stayed here with me. When he stayed here with us. Like, he was always chilling in my room with me. Just, me and him would play games together, watch movies. Me and him would, like, dude, I have a funny story. Like, what's up? Me and him, remember when we drove by Baskin Robbins the other day? Over there by Malone's, over by Drake's. I remember, and you were like, "Oh, what the fuck is this still doing here?" Remember that childhood memories?
Yeah.
one day, like, we had just got off work because he used to go in. We ended up, like, he quit Kroger, and then I was working at that nursing home. You remember that place. I was working there for the longest. I got him a job there. Me and him would go in at the same time there, from like 6 in the morning till about, 2:30. And I remember one of those days when we got off work, it was like almost like 8 o'clock at night. And, back then his moped was held together with duct tape. So dude, that was literally like death on wheels. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So, lady, lay down. Shut up. So that was basically like death. Like that was like death on wheels. And so, I was kind of scared because when you were on that moped riding, the seat that you were sitting on was duct tape and it was barely
together.
Yes. So I'll never forget. We drove on a busted ass moped that was barely put together with fucking duct tape to Baskin Robbins. We got ice cream, brought some back for my mom. But like, it's just crazy, man. Because like, he went from being like a friend and someone that we took in to like being family. So like, every time he gets time off, because he went from being in the Marines and now he's in the Army.
Yeah.
And like now, like when he has time, he comes and visits us like every holiday. Like Christmas, sometimes if he can, Thanksgiving, New Year's if he can.
Yeah.
He's actually about to be a dad too. His kid is almost here.
That's crazy.
Everybody that I know, you know who I'm not going to mention because I don't have the permission to say their name on here.
That's not Spencer. Oh yeah.
But so everyone except for me has kids or has a kid on the way, and I'm but I don't look at it as a bad thing because I feel like that's kind of like the universe's way of telling me and God's way of telling me, like,
that you're a virgin. No.
Yes, that too, even though I'm not, but it's okay to make fun of me, whatever. But it's just like a way, I guess, of like the universe and God just telling me it's not your time yet to be a dad. Like, you're not ready.
Yeah.
Because I'm not like where I want to be in life just yet, and we have plenty of time.
Have one until you have the right woman to make one with and your life in order. Until you're in a physical, financial, mental place to have one. Yeah, then don't have one until you are. I guess I was in that state already and just didn't know it. But I think my life had come to a point where it's like, I always said that had I had her any sooner, it probably wouldn't have gone as smooth. But she came at the most perfect time.
Yeah, man. I kind of hate to bring it up, but the both of us, man, we've had like a lot of losses.
Yep.
And to be honest, like loss, in a way, in my opinion, I don't know like how you look at it. We already had this conversation today, but I feel like it's kind of good to talk on here, just just in case whoever's listening, just in case you feel like you're alone and no one can relate. Me and Trace can relate, but like everyone deals with loss in like a different way. You know what I mean? Like me and you dealt with it a different way. We've had friends, family members that we've lost that we never thought we would, and it just happens because it's life. And I feel like in a way that's like a test. A test in a way. That's like that's like trying to like test you and see how far and how much can you take until you completely lose your mind. Because I have seen it's not people that I know.
Well, as they always say, when you lose people, it either will kill you or make you stronger, or the whole phrase "what don't kill me makes me stronger." It's true. There's only two things that come from it. You either get stronger from it, get wiser from it, or it completely breaks you. So.
Yeah, I've seen like with me for example, when I lost my dad, R.I.P. to him. Like, I was in a dark place. I was like, oh my God, like, and I'm just so thankful, and I'm so glad that I was like in a way able to pull myself out of it before it got worse. Because had I not done that, like I feel like I would have been like that for.
You would have gone down that spiral until
I would have been gone. Until
yeah.
like I would have been gone, you know. But I kind of had like I had a day where, you know, I'm gonna be honest, like when I lost my dad, it was like the most traumatic experience I've ever had in my life. It was like the most heart-wrenching thing to ever experience. Like, you know, you can lose a friend, you know, you can lose like a dog, you can, you know, like a pet, you know, like a fish or a frog or whatever. Yeah, it hurts, it sucks. But when you lose someone that you've seen every single day of your life since you were a kid, and like that's your dad, and you know, he brought you into this world along with your, you know, your mother, raised you, did the best that he could, you know, respected you as a man. You know what I mean? You guys connected, you guys were close. When you lose someone like that, a part of you is buried with them in that coffin, and you'll never see that part of you ever again. As messed up as that may sound, as to some people as ignorant as that may sound,
no, it's true. Yeah, anybody that's been there can relate, can understand.
Even a friend, even when I was, Spencer was living with us at the time. You know, God, I even knew you because I remember telling you this. But like, you know, when I lost, you know, when I lost my friend Dino that I've known since I was a kid. God, man, the way that he went out was fucked up.
Yeah,
like. That was like and Ashton too. You know, when I was in high school, when I lost her, you know, that just when I kept losing people, I started to just like kind of get numb to it. I started just to kind of, you know, just be like, when I would hear someone that I knew passed away, I'd be like, oh, okay, you know. I had no like.
It got to a point where it was like I wasn't numb to it. It was just I became like paranoid. Like, who's gonna go next? People are just gonna keep going left and right, left and right. And it was almost like I thought that I would be numb to it, but every time that it's somebody that you really were close with or that you care about, it hurts just as much every time. It's just like, wow. But it's, like I was saying, like either like get stronger from it or it breaks you. I just always try to think like, what do people say? You didn't come this far to only come this far. You didn't, you know. Or what is it? You survived 100% of your bad days. So it's like that's all you can do is just push.
You just got to push through.
Yeah.
You just got to push through because I'll never forget like watching. I know this may sound a little corny to some people, but like I'm a huge Rocky Balboa fan. I watched every movie, loved every movie, even if they were bad. I liked them just because of the fact that there was always a message. But I'll never forget in Rocky Balboa, which is like Rocky 6. You know, he's old. He has a son that's full grown. You know, his son, you know, is having, like, good things going for him and everything like that. But, you know, he starts to box again, and, like, his son feels like he's taking something away from him because when he wasn't boxing, everyone was paying attention to his son. And his son was getting, you know, kind of like, you know, I'm not saying his son was getting the light, the glory or whatever, but, you know, like, people were giving him a chance not just because he was his son.
Yeah.
And then I'll never forget this one scene in the movie because his son gets mad at him because he's coming out of retirement to box this guy who's been talking trash about him. And he says to him, nobody will ever hit you harder than life. Life will beat you down to your knees if you let it. No punch, nothing, no punch, no kick. I do mixed martial arts. The shit hurts when you get hit hard in like a very, obviously a very, sensitive part of your body, but he was saying no punch, nothing is going to hit you hard in life. It will beat you down to your knees if you let it. And a lot of people get to that point in their life and they let themselves get beat down and they don't get up because they just don't have that drive. They just don't have that, you know what I mean? They just don't have like, I'm not saying they don't have courage, because that kind of like, you have to get through adversity. You have to get through what you're going through. You have to get through the hard shit. You have to, or else you're just going to be in a sunken, dark, depressing place for the rest of your life. And there's a lot of people like that just kind of just like sink into that place and they don't get themselves out of that place because they're stuck there. We're all going to go through loss. We're all going to go through shit that we're not going to be able to control. But at the same time, we have to realize maybe those people that we've lost, they're probably a lot happier where they're at now than we are right now, especially 2020, with everything going on, with this virus going on, with, the way that the world is going on, with the way that, you know, people are acting, with everything going on, like, it's a lot of chaos, man. And I feel like a lot of our loved ones that we've lost, you know, probably, you know, would have not wanted to see this. And in a way,
yeah, for sure,
you know, in a way, to be honest, I'm glad. You know, it may sound fucked up, but I'm glad that my dad's not here to see this shit, because it's just what it.
It's raining.
Yeah, I think people that go through stuff, or how am I saying this? I think the people that, not all of them, but most people that are not here, it was probably better off like that, or they didn't want to be here. At least in my personal experience, there's a lot of people I know that passed that, though, out of all those people that passed, they had their issues, or you know, they weren't as happy as some other people that I know. And even though I don't agree with this statement, how they say everything happens for a reason, whatever, it's not up for us to know. So yeah, I just to try to use that as motivation to be like, you know, continue to thrive and go far in life for them, because I know that that's what they would want. And with your dad, with people that I knew, just anybody, they wouldn't want to see us. That's one of the main things I always try to think about, is they wouldn't want to see us just get so sad over them and throw away our lives. They would be, you know, I'm 100% positive that if you could hear any of your loved lost ones, or I could hear any of mine, that's all of them would be saying the same thing. It'd be like, nah, keep going, we're fine, keep going. So I just use that as motivation to make sure that I make something out of myself.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really positive and good way to look at it, because, you know, not like when people get to that breaking point, they just want to give up. They just don't care no more. Like, they feel like the world is over. They feel like it's, you know, they've lost so many people. They've like lost so many people. They've been through so many hard times, you know. They've been through so much adversity. Mm-hmm. And it's like, the better their life gets, something even worse always comes along, and then they have to fight through that again. It's like, you know, it's like another fight. Yeah. It's another fight that they have to go through, and it sucks. It fucking sucks.
What did Lloyd Banks say in his song? He was like, on some song, he was talking about he would lose somebody every time he would leave out on a tour. He would, like, you know, every time I'm going on tour, somebody's dying. That's got to be even more fucked up, because I know, especially back in the day, they toured like extensively. So, but I don't know. Enough of that subject.
Yeah, I just feel like, you know, it's kind of good to, you know, just talk about that, to kind of just get it off our chest, you know, because there may be somebody out there who's listening to this and needs to hear that, you know what I mean?
For sure.
Someone who may need to hear, you know, what we have to say, and needs to hear, like, you know, something, you know, just someone who doesn't feel like they have someone that they can relate to, and, you know, they may stumble upon this and listen to this, be like, oh crap, I'm not the only person going through this. I'm not the only person who's, you know, I can actually relate. And there's a lot of people out there, you know, who go through something like that, and they just want to end their life. They feel like they have nothing to live for. You have something to live for. The reason that you lost that person is to see if you'll be able to get through that, you know, get through that hump, get through that bump in the road, and become even better, and appreciate the people that you still do love in your life, and appreciate what you have. Because like a lot of people, you know, they deal with hardships and they kind of just toss it over to the side. They kind of just give in to, like, you know, just being depressed and just not wanting to better themselves. And then their whole life is just like a huge just spiral. You know what I mean? It's just from one thing to another. You know what I mean? And it's kind of sad to see that, but then at the same time, it's up to you as a person. It's up to you as a human being to decide, am I going to sit here and just loathe in this shit, or am I actually going to get up and be stronger from this? Just like you said,
they said when you're feeling tired, rest, don't quit. So many people get caught up on like a momentarily thing and then make permanent decisions. And I like that quote a lot because it's just like, if you feel exhausted, you feel tired, you feel like you want to quit, no, just rest. And then, tomorrow will come a new day. But no, that is true that it's good to talk about things like this because I know there's like a lot of situations where people have been like, oh, well, just talking to this person, just knowing that they reached out, whatever, made the whole difference between them wanting to continue their life or not. So yeah, and I say, you can say if you agree as well, but if anybody hearing this and they feel like there's nobody else that they can reach out to, you can always hit me up on Instagram, Facebook, whatever. Because I talk to people all the time that I'll have no idea who the hell they are, but they'll be like, I heard your music, or I'm a fan of your music, and it's cool, like, because I'm not like famous or anything like that. I'm just just another person that wants to do music, but it's cool to see that just by me responding to them, how much like it can make a difference. They'll be like, oh man, thanks for taking the time out to respond to me and stuff. A lot of people don't do that, and it's fucked up to think about that like something as simple as just talking to someone, there's people out there that don't even have that. So
what's the craziest thing, now that you mention that, I remember seeing someone, how people share memes on Facebook and Instagram sometimes, but it wasn't a meme, it was just a screenshot. Someone had messaged the guy who used to be on Blue's Clues, the original guy.
Yeah.
And, they said to him, like, my childhood was shit, but, just watching your show and, like, just seeing you on TV every day, even though my life was horrible when I was a child, like, helped me get through everything.
Yeah.
And he actually, like, wrote them back saying, like, oh, wow, man, thanks. I didn't really think that, like, a little, like a child show like that could help someone through that.
Yeah.
And this was, like, maybe, I think last year, or maybe in 2018, when this person had messaged him. And he actually wrote back, which is crazy.
That's the truest thing, and that's why I feel like people should just make more of an effort to just, I don't know, like, I don't know, just try, give an effort in life, because I think a lot of people go through life, including myself sometimes, they may think that, why would I bother responding? My input doesn't matter, or my opinions, my thoughts don't matter that much. But your opinions, thoughts, and all that shit might make all the difference in somebody else's life. Like when you hear about, like random songs that people like to this day would just be like, oh man, that saved my life. Da-da-da. The person that wrote that probably didn't go into making that song thinking I'm going to save somebody's life doing this. They're just writing shit that comes to their mind. Same thing like with like Pac, like Dear Mama and Keep Your Head Up and shit. It probably, like, Keep Your Head Up was definitely meant for like, people going through shit. Yeah. But there's so many millions of other songs that it's like, I see stories and people are just like, oh man, that song helped me get through it, or this song saved my life. Like this dude, shout out to my dude Alex in Michigan. Yeah. And he was some random dude that messaged me on my 23rd birthday. And this was when my shit like wasn't even like mixed properly.
Dude, I remember like back in the day, like you would start to write a song that was meant to have like 2 verses or something like that. And it would just have 1 verse, and you never finished it. But now...
No. That was because I would be waiting on people to get on the songs, and people never did the shit. Like, that's why I had Daniel that lives down here. He said that. He was like, man, he was one of the only motherfuckers that was putting in work, because I would always write songs, and because my original plan was to... Every song that I did with a big name, get one of the homies on it. So that way everybody got shine, everybody got like a big old like Wu-Tang type clique or whatever. But then the more and more time went on, the more I realized I was like, people ain't really they don't have like that work ethic. So that was why like a lot of the songs that went unfinished, it was because people wasn't coming through and doing the verses like they said they would. But back to what I was talking about with old dude, he told me that who's it, me and Twisted Insane, he was like, man, you two, y'all's music got me off heroin, saved my life. And I was like, and this was like back then though, like before I made like Walk the Line and certain songs like that. And I was like, you know, back in those times when I still lived here, a lot of my shit was just like, it didn't really have like deep meaning. It was just bars, like just rappity rap. I'm just showing people that I have a lot of skill. And I was like, wow. And I've to this day have stayed in contact with him because of that, because I was just like, my shit made a difference. Like my shit's not even like, number one, I wasn't talking about as much back then. Number two, my shit wasn't even mixed properly. But number three, I'm like, my shit wasn't even getting views. My music wasn't even on YouTube yet. My stuff was strictly on SoundCloud only. And it was when I would just upload, like you said, like random one verses and stuff. And dude, he told me that. He was like, bro, your music helped me. I got off heroin and shit. I was just like, it was dope. I mean, it was like a great feeling to be like, wow, that my shit made that much of a difference. But I didn't see why it did. So I was just like, I don't have like, now I do. I have a lot of deep songs. But back then I didn't really have that many that were like stuff that's, you know, positive, motivating, uplifting and shit. But that's why I say I truly think that, like, they say like love's the most powerful thing, which in a way it can be, but I think music is the craziest shit. How you can go from, what does music start out as? An idea or a pen on a piece of paper in a computer, whatever. It's just thoughts. Yeah. And how far can you take it to? Stadiums, traveling the world, all that shit. And then to know when you see people selling out crowds for 150,000 people, 200,000 people performing at Lollapalooza and shit like that, and it's just like, wow, those songs they're performing, that song started with just a fucking piece of paper and, you know, studio equipment. It's just crazy. That's why I think music is the dopest shit ever. It's like,
I'll never forget when I first met you. Like, I always knew, and I don't know why, like, even though we talked on Facebook, which is the most weirdest fucking thing that we met on Facebook, but even before we even met, we knew so many people, and I'm so surprised that we didn't meet beforehand, which is really fucking weird.
For real. Shout out AJ and Kelby.
Because I knew Helena. Them both.
And Helena, I knew her.
Dude, Helena, like,
before you.
I remember, like, I used to, like, kick it with, and I still talk to him. He's still he's still a good friend. We just,
him?
Evan Hammonds.
Oh, you didn't say a name. You just said
I was just talking.
Helena.
I was trying to get it out.
Oh, okay.
But I remember her friend. She was dating, my friend Evan, and like, we were all.
Autumn.
I think that was her name.
The redhead.
Yeah,
I used to talk to her too. I remember her.
Yeah, back in the day, and like.
Shout out to all y'all if you listening. that was a long time ago. That was like 2009. I met you in 2012. Yeah, that was a few years before.
But me and him, we were cool ever since, like, Jesus Christ, man, since like elementary school. Because I met him, my buddy Griffin, and a whole bunch of other people, and like, we had always been friends. Just for the longest, we had always been friends, and Helena came over one time at my buddy Evan's house, and we all just hung out. And then
seeing
it's just so crazy. Me having that long ass straightened hair, and then seeing me now, I'm so different. But you know what though? Like
Justin Bieber
I still fucking listen to like Blink-182. I still listen to Avenged Sevenfold from time to time.
I fuck with Avenged Sevenfold.
I still listen to the music that I always used to listen to back in high school. But it's just like, for me,
A Little Piece of Heaven and Nightmare are my two favorite songs by Avenged Sevenfold.
You know what's really crazy? The original drummer for the band, he fucking died on Christmas.
I remember he died. I didn't know he died on Christmas. Damn,
if people are listening, and if you know for a fact, I'm pretty sure he died on Christmas. But if I'm wrong, just correct me in the comment section. But I'm pretty sure he died either on Christmas Day or Christmas Eve. One of those two. Because I remember I woke up and I was, just like on MySpace. Oh my God.
What year was that?
MySpace. Jesus Christ.
I remember the days of MySpace.
Jesus. That's how I met my first girlfriend.
I remember my first MySpace. I think it was the only MySpace I had. Shout out to who made it. Justin Amoson made my first. Who's also a friend of AJ, so you might have met him before. He made my first MySpace, and he was like, this was before like phones, cell phones, anything. Like when I had one. And he was like, yo, there's this thing called MySpace, blah, blah, blah. You got to check it out. He's like, I went through and added some people for you. And I remember my mom being like, because like, once you're a 13-year-old kid on the internet or whatever, 14-year-old kid, and she was like, I don't know how I feel about you having like a whatever MySpace account. It's funny, MySpace and Facebook. I didn't make mine for either one. This the dude that made my Facebook is somebody I haven't talked to in 10 years. I'm not gonna mention him, but yeah, I just remember that MySpace and Facebook. I didn't make either one of mine.
It's funny. I didn't even know that Facebook existed until my childhood friend Sidarius. He like came to visit. And, I didn't even, have any social media aside from MySpace. And it was so outdated. He was like, what the, like...
Oh, I know. What that was so funny is when I got... Like, you look at Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. They're still popular today, right? It's been a good decade now. I got my MySpace in, I guess, 2006. By 2010, nobody was on MySpace. So... that shit only lasted like 4 years, And I remember actually seeing on, Proof was on there for a little while, right? On MySpace? Yeah. I remember because they said he was real interactive with fans. He was on Rap Basement, this old forum page. But it said that, because it looks like it would be just a fan-made page, but it was really his. It says the last login was... April 11th, which was obviously like the day that he died, and he had posted on somebody's page, "What up, doe?" Like I guess a few hours before he passed, which is so weird. I'm like, the way that you can interact with famous people on Twitter and Instagram now, it's like, had MySpace stayed popular, who knows what that would have been like? Because MySpace was cool. You could do a lot more shit back in the day on there. How you could put songs on your profile and you could have the background design and stuff. I remember the people that I was hanging with. I look at it now, I'm like, they were a bunch of tools, but they used to do stuff like their backgrounds on their MySpace would be like SpongeBob with a gun or, just random shit like that. But,
well, see, I remember, when I had a MySpace account, a lot of people had, fan base, like a fan base page. Where they had a certain how you could have a banner in the background, a profile picture and shit like that.
Yeah.
And they would just keep people up to date. They would just keep people up to date.
I remember those. Yeah.
I had one. My friend had one. We all had one. We thought it was gonna get us popular back in the day, or big or something, but it never.
By
did.
making a fan page for
yeah. For somebody that was back then for us, we were really into wrestling, WWE. So I had a
I actually made a few myself, yeah.
Yeah, I had a Jeff Hardy fan page or a fan base kind of thing, where people can just come and talk about, whatever. Yeah. And we would always, my friend Evan, he had one, but he had the best just because he had Photoshop. So he was, I'm pretty sure still to this day he still has Photoshop.
He had Photoshop back when MySpace was popping. Damn, because everybody has Photoshop now, but. Back in those days, shit wasn't as easy to.
It wasn't as easy. You had
camera phones were barely coming out.
Back then, you had to actually buy it with the disc and put it into your computer and download the program.
Yeah. I remember that.
But now if you have Photoshop, you have to actually pay for it every month. But he was lucky because I think to this day he still has the disc and he still has the same program and maybe the same computer. If not, he still has the disc and he can still just download it for free because he actually owns the shit, which is crazy because when you think about it, a lot of the things that we had back then that was basically sort of kind of free that you would just buy one time and you could just use it forever. None of that exists now. Everything is so digital. Even I feel like
the coolest shit is to think about how hype people got over certain things and how they mean nothing now. Like for instance, camera phones. I remember when camera phones came out, people were making songs about that shit. Like, oh, my phone got a camera. And now phones are literally computers.
It's a computer in your pocket.
Yeah, and it's nothing for you.
It's a computer in your pocket. I always think about, what's going to be, what's the future gonna look like? You know,
Yeah.
we come so far in technology. Like when you, like
so quickly too.
Yeah, so quickly. It hasn't even been 100 years. I don't think so.
They went from, for years and years, cell phones were the same, and now it's like every year shit is changing so much.
So quick, so quick, and it's crazy to think that way. It's crazy to see it that way because back in the day, like I'm talking about like 80s, maybe even early 90s. They had to carry that shit. It was like hooked up. It looked like a big box, and it was like this long string, and the phone was like attached to something. You dial it. That was like their cell phone back then. But now you have Google on your phone. You have Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Yeah. You can download Netflix, Hulu. I feel like cable TV in the next 10 to 20 years. We're not even gonna. I don't even have cable. All I use is just Hulu. It has everything I need. All the shows that I want to watch. All the shows that I keep up to date with. All the anime that I watch that I haven't even seen.
I was told in 2012 that in 10 years, so 2 years from now, radio will be completely gone. And yeah, it's like you look at Blockbuster. That shit doesn't even exist anymore.
You remember Blockbuster? That was my shit back in the day.
A lot of like Best Buy doesn't sell CDs anymore. Like they're making it to where you don't need movie places, the radio, like you said, like cable television, anything, because everything is just on the couple apps of like YouTube, Hulu, Netflix, whatever. And that's it. And it's crazy how it went from, like, how things went from that to now. You know the first computer was like the size of this room. Yeah.
That's crazy.
If you look up like the first computer, it was huge. And now you look at, and you got to think it couldn't do anything. That computer probably you could barely type on it. And this now you got MacBook Airs and shit that do everything, and they're small enough to fit on this in the side of your car door or something. But
yeah, man, like I've always thought about this, because in a way it may sound kind of crazy, but we've had so many movies, like iRobot, Terminator, things like that. I really do believe that somewhere along the line, maybe 50 years from now, maybe 100, maybe 1,000 years from now. Mm-hmm. Human beings will find a way, and I know it sounds crazy, but that's just how I feel and how I look at it, because of how far we come in technology. Like you see people who have been in the military that have lost a limb, and then now they have
You see they got robot dogs now?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. Oh. They're talking about they're gonna replace police officers. I was like, yeah, that sounds like the beginning of how people were saying technology is going to be the end of the world. It's what's going to kill us all, robots and shit. That sounds like the beginning of that happening. When you got robot dogs replacing cops, and I seen somebody was like, oh, why don't you just beat them up, whatever. It's like, nah, these are robots are going to be indestructible.
And it's just seeing people who've been in the military who have lost limbs, and then they have these, robotic limbs, and they can actually move their hands,
yep.
And everything. I really do believe like RoboCop. Do you know who RoboCop is?
Yeah, of course.
He it's just his head and his heart and this machine, this robotic body that's keeping him alive. That's it. Yep. And I feel like like I said, maybe 100 years, maybe 50, 100 years from now, maybe even 1,000 years. Who knows? Humans are going to find a way to download themselves, download their consciousness, because we're made of energy. We're not just made of flesh. When we die, our energy goes somewhere, we're energy.
Yeah.
We're energy. So I feel like someone is going to figure out a way to be able to take that energy and put it into a mechanical body, to where we'll be able to live a lot longer.
Probably. They got... What was the shit I seen on TV about? They got scientists and shit doing stuff now where they take the vocal cords of dead people and try to rub them together to see what the person's voice sounded like or some shit like that. Did you see that clip on the news? And there was one that was like they tried to do it with this person who had died, and this was all they could get out of the vocal cords being moved together, and you just hear like a deep voice go, "Fuck you" or some shit like that. And it's like it's weird that you're sitting there and like we're just like human life, like just normal humans as we are, and they're sitting there doing all that stuff now, like trying to clone us and like bring the voice back from somebody who's dead. It's weird how they continue to do shit like that.
Well, I feel like humans are gonna find a way to keep themselves around longer than we should be. Yeah. Because you got to think like thousands and millions of years ago. Our ancestors, they were cavemen. They weren't smart. They weren't really, they were dying off eat. They were just dying so quickly. We didn't. If you told someone back in the day, like around like, let's see, way back in the day, people used to tell each other, there's something called diseases and germs.
Yeah.
You can't see it, but it could kill you. You back then would be deemed crazy, because just because you couldn't see it, I was always told, just because you can't see it doesn't mean it isn't real.
Yeah, you can't see air, but it's there.
Yeah. Like, come on, Yeah. So it's just like, with the whole concept of like, I do believe that there's other life outside of Earth. I believe it may not be what we portray them as to be on TV, like aliens, these big ass fucking things with like a big head and a frail body. You're
saying outside of Earth or after Earth?
Outside of Earth, like other planets that have been proven for the last couple of years that have living organisms on them.
I've been
life forms that are living.
I've been hearing about
like
they'd say
that could exist.
Yeah.
It is like there's no way that this could be the only planet on Earth. Well, the only planet in our solar system that has living beings on it. There has to be something else out there, and I do believe to an extent that the technology that we have was given to us from something else.
Yeah.
To a certain, because it's like when you look at history, when you look at everything, especially I remember seeing this painting. It was like BC, before Christ, and it was like some guy. It was like a painting someone painted way back in the day. And, it was BC time, before Christ. And it was a guy standing on a hill like this with his dog sitting next to him. A saucer in the background, but then also in the picture it was like, like a whole town of like, like an ancient kind of looking town. Yeah. Like, people, like wagons and stuff like that. It was like really old times, people dressed really differently type of shit.
Old way of living, yeah.
But it was like, it had, like, they were dressed in a certain way that just, it was just really weird to see that, because, like, that kind of tells me that, people even back then knew that there was, maybe different kinds of living organisms that we may have never seen. There's been so many UFO sightings. There have been so many people who have claimed to be abducted. And I can't say that they're lying, and I can't say that they're telling the truth, because I had to experience it myself. But I do remember this one movie that I saw. I forgot the name of it, but it was probably the most realistic depiction and the most, in my opinion, most terrifying like alien movie I ever saw. I forgot the name of it, but it was based off of a true story. This guy, he was driving with, him and his friends were driving in a car, and they saw like this giant, it looked like a spaceship just hovering, and like this beam of light was just, beaming out. And one of them got out of the car, and he got too close, and he got beamed in there. And his friends left him and drove off, went to the police, told the police. They didn't believe him. They took lie detector tests. They all passed. They weren't lying. And their friend that they said that was taken by the by the spacecraft, they found him a week later. But he was still alive. But he had no clothes. He was naked. They took him in for a lie detector test. He passed. He said that when he got abducted, they put him on this like operating table, and they just kind of like did experiments on him. They didn't harm him, they just took some of his blood and I forgot his name. I'll show you later after this.
Did they say what the people look like that took him?
He said, and it's really creepy and really kind of like scary, but he said that they had like kind of a big head, but it wasn't like what we depict them to be. Yeah. They had like these really like, they had eyes of like a shark, just black, like. And he said when they were looking at him, he felt like they were looking through his soul, like they could see his soul. Like he felt like they were looking through his physical body, and that they were like looking at his soul.
It's weird as fuck.
And I remember watching Unsolved Mysteries, which is like one of my favorite shows ever since I've watched it ever since I was a kid. But
that show's the shit. Even though it used to always scare me as a kid, the music.
Yeah, it did. Dun 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 dun. It was just so scary. I mean, I remember like I was like on a binge. I was on a binge for the longest. But there's this episode where these two guys that were like security guards, they were taking a break and they were outside and they saw.
Hey, on a side note, the people that be making the music for TV show theme songs, that's who I need to produce my shit. The people that be making the music for TV shows, movies, stuff like that, they got the best sounds, but my fault.
No, you're good. Yeah, I agree. Like, Unsolved Mysteries has, like, the best... After the original guy, the original dude, the guy who was... The original person who, the host who would talk over, he was the best. Mm-hmm. After that, I stopped watching it because the new guy, no offense to him, I just didn't like his voice.
I didn't see a newer dude.
Yeah.
You're talking about the older white dude that had a creepy-ass voice? Yeah.
That's the only one I would watch.
That's the only one I ever saw.
It just like, I don't know, it's just his voice and the music and just the way he would just tell the stories. Yeah. But I was watching one of them and it was like specifically about aliens and UFO sightings and stuff. And these two security guards, they were taking a break and they were outside just smoking a cigarette and they see a UFO. And the movie Men in Black.
Yeah.
There's actually people that are real like that. And the really creepy thing is, because they worked, I think, like at a hotel or I think like a nursing home, something like that.
Yeah.
About a day or two after they had reported the UFO sighting, these two guys dressed in all black suits with a top hat, with a briefcase, had no eyebrows, looked like twins, pale as shit, looked like twins. Walked into that same place that those two guys worked at and asked if they were there because they needed to speak to them. And the lady that was there, she told them that they weren't there because, they were obviously off. But she wouldn't give those two men the location, like their address, the people who had worked that had reported seeing the UFO. She wouldn't give them, she wouldn't give those two men the addresses, obviously.
Yeah.
But even she, which is really fucking creepy, she said that when she was talking to them, that it felt like they were looking through her soul. Like, They looked exactly the same. Their voices sounded the same. Every feature was exactly the same. And it's really weird because
I sit there and wonder why, like, people in the world wonder why, if there is other life on other planets, why the government wouldn't tell us. Well, you know why they won't tell us. They tell us about a little ass virus going around and everybody loses their fucking minds, taking all the hand sanitizer and toilet paper out of stores and fighting each other and shit. You see the way people act on Black Friday too. It's like, y'all act like this over stuff that has a discount on it. We're definitely not about to tell you about aliens because then y'all gonna really blow some shit up.
They're gonna lose their fucking minds.
The whole world will go crazy.
I guarantee you, like, all the UFO sightings that we see, it's probably aliens just turning up, and they're like, let's just go fuck with them real quick. And they literally come down, and they see how ridiculous we are, and they're like,
let's go back to Mars, yeah.
Let's just fucking go back home, because they're just not ready to see us. If they're going to be, and that's a really good point you bring up, though, like, Black Friday, people have been killed on Black Friday.
There's so many things. It's not just Black Friday or the virus. See how people act during ball games as well, during certain concerts. Any type of event that a big crowd can gather or anything that makes people panic, it's always some bullshit. It's always gonna be chaos and shit,
destruction,
like that.
And people losing their lives.
Shout out to our hometown, but y'all some crazy motherfuckers. When we won in 2012, when UK won the championship, we fucking news because everybody was on State Street, burning the couches and setting shit on fire. Bitches flashing titties left and right. Like Kentucky, not Kentucky, but just the world as a whole. Humans are some wild motherfuckers.
I remember people. Bro, people were throwing fucking couches out their windows, setting cars on fire, flipping random
all types of shit.
Like, over a win?
Over a win, yeah.
What?
No, what's even more savage is they be doing that shit when they lose. Whether win or lose, just give us an excuse to go crazy and we on it.
Well, then what's the point? Like, if you're gonna destroy shit, whether we win or
they
lose...
just want an excuse to tear shit up.
I'd be damned if, like...
I think the only thing... Oh, my fault, go ahead.
I'd be damned, like, if I woke up the next morning and I had to be at work and my car was flipped over on fire. Boy... I would listen.
You peek out the window. You're like, crazy kids. Go to bed, wake up. My car's flipped over. What the fuck?
And it's on fire. Like that's the one thing that trips me out though. Like they were like throwing couches out their windows from their dorms.
Wow.
Like who the fuck is gonna pay for that? And then they bitch about the next day. Man, we ain't got no furniture. You just fucking threw it out the window.
Right.
It's like you were living in the moment. When I said to live in the moment, I didn't mean to throw your fucking couch out the window and set someone's car on fire. Like that's some purge shit.
Real shit.
And I just feel like, people, and I think this is something that everybody should learn from and like should take advice from me or anyone who's been in that. Like, don't let your emotions get the best of you. Like, people act on emotions. People will be pissed off, say some shit that they don't mean to someone that they really care about, and they'll fuck up the whole relationship or friendship or, girlfriends, a relationship with a girlfriend or a relationship with a boyfriend.
Or fuck up their life, or
lose a really good job just because they let their emotions get to them,
or end up in jail for 30 years.
I feel like we've all been there. We've all let our emotions get to us, and we fucked up maybe a friendship or a relationship, and we've all learned from that. But it's like I feel like letting our emotions, in my opinion, in a certain way and at a certain time, I feel like our emotions are our worst enemy because. True. In that moment,
they can be for sure.
Yeah, in that moment of like anger or or like sadness or like just like being fed up with something, whatever comes to mind, we just say it. But then later on, we regret it. We're like, damn, I shouldn't have said that. That's why I always say, even if you're not cool with somebody, even if like you fell out with someone, just make amends, forgive them, but you don't have to be cool with them. At least just,
for sure.
And it's not forgiving them just to forgive them, but it's for yourself. If you sit there and just like not forgive someone, no matter what the reason is or no matter what they did to you, that shit will eat you every day, and you're gonna start being more hateful, more bitter.
Because you don't want, your last convo with anybody to be bad, unless it's like somebody that really, really did some
terrible shit
towards you or your family. Then it's like, fuck you in your life, like. But yeah, no, that's definitely, and I've done it. I know, I think every person I know has done it. If I'm not mistaken, like
we all have.
Does it? Yeah.
We all have. I mean, shit. Like even me, it didn't ruin my relationship with my dad. But like when we got into arguments, I said some shit I didn't mean, and he did too. But we were man enough to apologize and move on. And that's just, I feel like that's what you should do. Even if it's with someone that's like done you really wrong, you should just forgive them and just move on.
But it depends though. Like there's, done me wrong in what way? Because that's such a broad scale of things that it could be. Some stuff's forgivable, some stuff isn't. Like if you let a friend hang out in your house and you come home and they stole all your parents' jewelry and stole a bunch of shit like that. That's the one of the highest forms of disrespect, in my opinion. And
of course,
you need to beat that ass. But
of course, but I remember watching the brother of that one guy who got killed when the cop came into his house and thought that it was her place and she shot him dead. like I saw the video where like he was in court, you know, for her hearing. I think she got like 10 years or maybe a little bit longer. But I remember like his brother like forgave her and hugged her and everything. And
when Sheep's dad hugged his killer, that shit was wild.
That's I don't like. I don't think I could ever do that. But to be honest though, it takes a really strong person to do that.
Beyond strong, yeah.
I don't think that he did that for that person. I think he did it for himself. Because if you think about it, like,
well, he did it because
he's really religious too. But
his faith is obviously
pure,
really strong, and he wasn't willing to look at that guy as just like, oh, you're an evil person. He probably is the type that thinks everybody is good, and just bad got into him because he said, he goes, I'm not mad at you. I'm mad at
the devil.
The devil that got into you or some shit like that. Yeah, and he's just Sheep's dad is a very wise man, and I see why Sheeps was who he was.
I never met his dad, but I knew his brother because he was in my creative writing class.
Mm-hmm.
Such a good dude. Like, I remember Sheeps.
Y'all both went to Crete?
Yeah. He, dude, like, him and Sheeps would, like, go to... they would come to the library and help me with my Play-Doh because I was failing, and they would help me. And
you think AJ and Kelby and all them knew him?
I don't think so. Because they never mentioned him, so maybe they did know him and they didn't know that we knew him, but I don't know. Who knows? But he
was a good dude. He was a gentleman. The first time I ever heard him cuss was after he died on a song. I'd never even heard him cuss. I never heard him have malicious intent towards anyone.
He was such a good
never
dude,
even
bro.
Heard him like get
such
mad.
a good
dude. Sheeps was that dude.
And he was so into his faith, you know. He even like rapped about it in some songs, you know, like he was a very peaceful.
Boy, that shit fucks me up though. That you know how the way he went out.
Yeah.
And he rapped about it in a song where something about nightmares of people breaking in and stabbing me, and I was like, and he basically like
he kind of predicted the way he was going to go out.
Scenario, but he said it the same way.
The outcome
him going
was
out
the
same way, and I was just like, that's why I believe in the power of the pen. And anytime I get worried about shit like that, like people will hear in so many songs where I'm like, I'm never dying. I'm living 1,000 years. I'm just like, because people look at Jesus. There's so many people that did that shit. X, Pac, Big, Proof. So many people. I think Left Eye did too, and then many others as well. So many people mentioned their death in songs and then died. And I'm just like, I feel like you just put it out there when you write that shit down or you say that, rap that shit, sing that shit, anything. I feel like you're putting it out there. And it's just like, I'd rather say, nope, I'm never dying.
Yeah. When he died, that was so unexpected.
Which one? Who?
Sheeps.
Oh, shit, yeah.
Because I was just, like, I was down, I was in my room just hanging out. And I'll never forget, because, like, when he would come to my creative writing class, because his brother Nerdine was in my class.
Yeah.
I remember, he literally rapped like 2 or 3 songs in our creative writing class.
I remember seeing a video of him. Yeah, he did.
He killed it. He killed it.
He did a song over the beat to "Turn It Up" by Chameleonaire. I'm gonna show him how to get your shine on. Turn it up, the DJ playing my song. You know the song? I'm gonna show him how to get the club on. He used that beat, and I remember was it him and his brother, or just him?
I think it may have just been him, because he
did an entire song, like 2-3 verses, a hook, and everything over that beat.
But I'll never forget,
and it was like something that related to school though, but he did it in like a cool way.
Yeah, like I remember I met his brother, and like I didn't know that was his brother.
Yeah.
And then like back then, you know, I knew you back then. I knew you in Torres. This was like senior year of high school before I graduated, and it was like I
remember your graduation.
Yeah, it was, and dude, he was there. Him and Torres.
Sheeps was there?
Yeah.
I
saw him.
But I know that Torres was there.
I saw him. Torres was there, but I didn't get a picture with Sheeps because he was taking pictures with his brother and his family. And so I just dapped it up with him because my mom and dad and sister and brother wanted pictures and stuff.
There's that one picture of like me, you,
Elliot.
There's one where Nadia's in the background, Torres is more up here. He's like holding up a pin. There was a bunch of pictures taken from that day.
Yeah, dude. Like it.
I'll never forget that shit.
But I remember he came into class. He came into class. He rapped, all that, and then Nerdine introduced me to him, and I was like, "Oh shit, I know your brother," and it was just like he was so polite. He was just such a good mannered person. He was so nice. Even if your shit sucked, he didn't tell you. He would just give you advice.
Yeah.
That was like around the time I was trying to rap and stuff.
Yeah. I've always been that way. I'm never just like your shit's whack or your shit's dope.
I'm never like that.
Because first of all, that's just like an opinion. Without explaining it, it's just kind of like it's not really like a thorough explanation. Like specify. Oh, I like the flow, but the beat's whack, or like really break it down. And so that's why I've actually always kind of felt like that's people that haven't even listened. If they're just like, oh yeah, dope, bro, I'm like, you probably didn't even listen to it. But when people be like, oh, well, you said this on this part of the song, or when you did this part with the flow, and I love how you switched the beat here, like that's how I know when people have really listened. And that shit,
But it was just cool to like. It was just really cool and interesting to like just see him just rap so comfortably in front of a class of people he didn't even fucking know aside from his brother and me.
It was because he had the passion for this shit for sure. He definitely loved it like I do. He studied this shit front to back. He was definitely a student of the game of hip hop.
I always ask myself, like when I think about him, I always ask myself why.
Yeah. For real.
Why is it always...
Shout out to Atmosphere, by the way, the rapper Atmosphere, who was one of Sheep's favorites. He's on Rhyme Sayers. It's like more of like the... You ever heard of the rapper like Idea? Or is it more like boom bap alternative rap, I think is what they call it. I don't really put
what is it like? Shit, rap and rock kind of?
It's like backpack rap. It's just that very like...
Lyrical stuff?
Yeah. And the rapper Atmosphere... I sent him a video of Sheeps doing a song over one of Atmosphere's beats, and I was like, this is my homie that died a few years ago. Just thought you'd want to see this, da-da-da. And he actually hit me back. That's why I say shout out to him for taking the time to respond to this. Was he had said, and he was just like, oh, that's dope, blah, 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 whatever. Sorry for your loss. And I was like, that's cool, because he didn't have to do that.
Yeah, that was probably, aside from like everyone else that we've lost over the years, especially recently, and, my dad 2 years ago, like, man, like, I was just chilling in my room like it was any other day, talking to Torres and talking to Shefke. Next thing I know, when I'm on Facebook... I was talking
to him. How did you find out?
I just saw it on Facebook, RIP Sheeplocks. I was like, what the fuck?
Who had posted it first that you saw?
I think it was either Torres or Shefke. Because Shefke and Torres were really close with him, too. They were cool with him.
Torres was the one that told me. I remember
I saw that and I didn't believe it.
Shit that day too because
I didn't believe it at first when I saw it. I was like, this must be some kind of fucking prank or something. But no,
yeah.
But it's crazy because the day that he died, he was buried because that's how
that shit was whack. I completely missed the wake, funeral, whatever. I missed that entire thing.
That's just like
I thought we had time, and I remember asking Shefke, and I was like, what time is it? Whatever that the wake is, or what day are they doing the funeral? And it was like, a couple hours after we had found out that he even passed. He goes, "Oh, he's already buried, bro." I was like, "What?"
Yeah, that's what.
Fuck?
That's
I forget that it's the Muslim heritage.
Yeah, that's
just
just
quick.
They bury them like once they die. They don't want to wait. I don't know 100% why it's like that, but I just remember I was like, I asked Torres, I think I asked Shefke, I was like, "Damn, when's his funeral?" And they were like, "Bro, he's already buried." I was like, "What? Yeah. That quick?"
Like, it sucks. So I remember that day. I don't remember exactly what I was doing. But
my mom even liked him because she met him a couple of times. Met his brother Nerdine, and my mom really wanted to like.
Well, there was not a single reason that no matter what walk of life you came from, what type of people you like to hang with, there was not a single reason in the world that anybody wouldn't like him, or there's not a reason that anybody would dislike him because he was just a cool ass dude. He was just
like an honest, humble. Even if you were like a bad person, like if
he just didn't judge.
He didn't judge. He was just a good fucking guy, man. And just the fact that like he went out the way that he went out was just so pathetic and just so fucked up, in my opinion. But
I think that's the only thing that can really make losing someone worse is if it's the way they went out. If they went out in a real like foul way, that's what's even worse. Because it's like, you know, it's one thing for people to go naturally or go from like freak accidents, but when you know it's just like, damn, this person's such a dope person and somebody really was willing to cause them harm. That's just so.
Was really willing to cause someone that they didn't even know that was just doing their job. You know, just bringing a pizza that someone had ordered, and then you know they did what they did. That was so fucked up.
I remember that day though. I don't remember what I was doing. I just remember I was just happy as shit for some reason. I was just happy and
then you got the news and it fucked up your whole mood.
No, I was just kind of like, what? Like,
yeah.
He's like, sheep died, and I was like, surely I read that wrong. Whatever. I'll ask him again. Look what he's talking about. And he started explaining it, and I was just like, word? But
that was just crazy. To me, it was just unbelievable. Like,
man, I hope they do something with that movie of his. He had that movie he was working on. That shit was dope. It was like a little short film or something.
Yeah, I hope his brothers like took over that and just tried to.
Whoever got that footage, I know somebody has to. Yeah, I hope they finish that shit. Same thing with my uncle. My mom got a book of his somewhere that he had wrote. I don't remember what it's about, but it's like a couple hundred pages. I was like, man, finish that shit and any money it makes, send it to like, you know, like a suicide awareness thing or some shit like that, or just send it to kids, whatever. But I feel like when people work on shit like that, like when people have work and it's not finished, you should still put it out in memory of them and out of respect for them. But that's one thing that I hate is when people like Tupac. He had a lot of fake albums, like albums that people had to go and put their hand in and then release it. I think when people leave this earth and they have any type of art that was left behind, like music, movies, paintings, whatever, just leave it as it is and put it out. Maybe like tweak one little thing here and there, like if the verse isn't finished or some shit like that, then yeah, cool. But when people take any type of work from somebody that passed and then start tweaking it to the point that it's not even really theirs anymore, that's just whack to me. That's why I've never really been a fan of albums like that, because they did it with Pop Smoke, they did it with Juice WRLD, and it's like, yeah, it's cool, but you know, like the real reason behind why they do it is just to make like a quick buck or whatever, and it's just leave their legacy alone.
I can't lie, like some of the Tupac ones are really good, especially the one that Eminem did.
The only two that I really liked was that one, Loyal to the Game, and Better Days, which Better Days was one of like the first rap CDs I ever owned. Next to Biggie's Life After Death, LL Cool J's GOAT, Lil Bow Wow's first two albums.
Do you remember that show that he used to have back in the day? That Lil
Bow Wow had a show?
It was either, who was it? I think it was Little Romeo. Yeah, I always get them mixed up. I don't know why, because they were kids. You know what I'm saying? They were kids.
I never saw it, but the reason why I knew you were talking about Romeo is that family. They've done everything. Master P, which obviously you know that's his. His dad.
Yeah, that's his dad.
They got their own cereal now.
That's crazy, bro.
This man,
can you imagine? Dude, he did everything. He was a rapper. He was a basketball player. He was an actor. Like, he did everything.
I'm pretty sure he's like been a professional chef. He's made like books and shit.
That man,
he was the author of.
That man can literally
all.
That man can literally die saying, "I've done everything."
Facts.
without even having to prove it, because everyone knows he's done everything.
He's not 60 even.
And you know what's crazy?
Has lived more life by the time he was 30 than some motherfuckers will living to be
the craziest thing.
The
craziest thing to me is like he accomplished so much in his life in like so little time, if that makes any sense. Like,
yeah,
he did so much.
Well, he's the GOAT. He's the blueprint. Well, no. I take that back. I think E40 was doing it independently before him, but if not, then whatever. Master P, and Master P was either the first or the second rapper to do shit independently, which means he wasn't getting no TV push, no movie push, whatever. So like when like Tech Nine's label and ICP's label and all these other labels that got big from doing it independently, it's cool, but it's like, nah, that's where it started was E40 and Master P. They were the first ones to do it. And what was something that was harder for them, which is even more of a salute, is you know how it's so easy now, you just post something on the internet and motherfuckers can hear about you? They didn't have the internet. So Master P and E40 were going platinum just by word of mouth. Getting out there in the streets and pushing posters, selling CDs out the trunk with no help from the internet, no help from TV, none of that shit. No help from the radio. And then they eventually, you know, blew the fuck up to who they are now. But to know that it was that far back, yeah. Master P is the go-to guy to model yourself after when it's like, what famous person would I want to be like him? He did it all. He did it all. And then not, you know, little side note, but I mean, like, he also was like a big-time drug dealer too, but that's not, like, you know, something.
That's
really,
like in the past.
That's
though.
not something to glorify, yeah.
He
was a, what do you say, rapper, actor,
chef,
basketball
player,
professional ball player.
Yep.
Anybody could just be like a little ball player in high school, but yeah, he went pro with the shit.
Isn't that insane though? He was a pro in all of this.
He had his own clothing line.
Golly.
He had his own, I think, film company, TV show, and then like we're saying now, he's got his own cereal. Like, dude, and it's called Hootie Hoos. You don't really know his music like that, so you don't get like the relevance to that. But he had a group called True, TRU, and that was one of their big songs. Was called Hootie Hoo, and so his cereals is called Hootie Hoos, if I'm not mistaken.
Like I just remember watching the shit out of the Lil Romeo show. Like I love that show.
See, as much as I am up on rap, I never saw that, and I never saw Under 3000's show either. Class of 3000. Mm-hmm. I gotta see.
I never saw it either. So I mean, you're not the only one.
The only one that I really stayed in tune with was 3-6's show, but they only had like 8 episodes, and then MTV didn't want to renew it or some shit. But I'll never forget when that shit hit the airwaves, or hit the air, whatever. I still watch those episodes all the time.
Yeah, it's like, man, like when I look back on my childhood, it's like there's so many good shows that I watched when I was a kid, and then like nowadays they're just trying to remake those same shows. Like, I hate,
man, TV shows and movies and
it's
music,
just not the same as it's just not the same.
Yeah.
The
so
90s
shit was cooler back then.
The 90s and the early 2000s was like the best era for like music, shows, movies. It's just like there was like so
for
much
life.
Yeah,
for life,
it was just so much creativity that was coming out, and now it's just like remake of this, remake of that, remake of this, remake. It's just like you can't come up with your own idea. You have to take someone else's idea and try to turn it into your own.
That's true. I've seen the thing in the last like year or two. And they were like, you know, obviously doing remakes of a bunch of movies. But it was a picture of a movie theater and all the movies that were playing that week. And it was all 90s shit. But the picture was taken in like 2019, 2018, some shit like in the last couple of years. And somebody was saying that they were like, what the fuck, are we living in the 90s again? Like, and then you find out like all these old groups were starting to come back too, like old music groups. It's just weird how history repeats itself, and that's what excuse me, that's what people be saying too. They're just like, man, because I mean, I don't feel like I have to be subjected to one style, like I'm only like a 90s rap or whatever. I feel like I can do any style, no matter how music continues to change. I can do that, but clearly, obviously, I guess where I'm most comfortable at is doing like just the lyrical stuff, like being a lyricist, and that's not what's in right now. It's not what's popular and accepted. And people have always said it. They're like, man, you just gotta wait till that like 90s, early 2000s vibe is like in style again, because you know everything repeats itself. And they was like, man, you gonna blow up. Cause I've had people tell me that too. They're like, man, with the music you make, if you had popped in 2005, whatever, you would have been one of the biggest things ever. But I was also, 13 years old when I was in 2005, so I had a little pipsqueak ass voice, so it wasn't meant to happen. But I don't feel like I'm like that. Like, I don't feel like I am just a 90s rapper or 2000s rapper, because I think I keep my ear on what's popular. I hate to use this quote, but I keep my ear to the streets. Like, I do. I stay in tune with, like, all the brand new songs that are hitting number one on iTunes and all over the radio. I sit there and I study them, because I'm always like, I can always change every song that I do. I can always change it up. And that's why I went from just doing songs like Case Closed and Loose Lips.
Which is my two favorite songs, by the way.
Because that's just like bar shit.
You just fucking went in.
Just bars.
You just fucking went in. Then, like, I remember one of those two, we were listening to the Marshall Mathers LP 2, and you fucking wrote one of those songs.
Lips.
Yeah,
Loose
after
Lips
you heard Groundhog Day.
Inspired by Marshall Mathers LP 2, yeah.
Groundhog Day, because I remember you heard that song, you were like, I gotta fucking write. And you wrote that whole thing, literally, I remember I had my desk over here with my computer, my bed was like right here. I'll never forget, you fucking wrote that whole ass verse. It was just a remix of T.I.'s Hit 'Em Up or something. No, it wasn't. Yeah, Hurt.
I don't know if T.I. got a song called Hit 'Em Up.
No, that's Tupac. I'm tripping.
Yeah.
But it was Hurt. You wrote the whole shit in my house on my bed. You just put the notebook down. And
I never kept that verse. That sucks, because I remember that shit.
That was a dope verse. That was a good verse.
I just remember going through it like I've done with so many others. I was like, let's look for the best lyrics in here. Wrote them down on a sheet. I was like, I'll use these again on something else. But that verse itself to that beat, I never kept it. And it was so stupid, because that shit was fire. But I mean, I went from doing shit like Case Closed and Loose Lips, which I can always still go back and do because it's just bars. But if you listen to like my new shit, I got songs like My Lonely off of my latest mixtape, or Don't Know Me, or just songs like that where I'm not even rapping on this shit. The whole thing is just like sung. But it's because I hear that, you can't sell a record nowadays without some type of melody in it. And that's why I always say Bone Thugs was the most, when people say, I was ahead of my time, Bone Thugs was the most ahead of their time as people.
I love Bone Thugs.
Besides 362, because
I love Bone Thugs. What was that one song with Akon?
Oh, I Tried.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's so like 2000s.
That's 2000s though, but you got to think they came out in like, and it's still 94. I think their first shit was like Creeping on the Come Up 94. They're over here doing this melodic ass, even though I say it's the Lord Infamous flow. He really was the one that had it first. But they're doing that fast and singing and shit, when the only thing that was out at the time was like big, like Illmatic dropped the same year. So it's like Bone Thugs was way ahead of their times. Nas is making shit like that, or Big L's making music like he was doing, and Snoop was making shit like he was doing, and Bone Thugs is over here in little ass Cleveland doing this just like futuristic ass flow that to this day Migos and all them be trying to do shit like that. Like, that's why I've always said like Bone Thugs 3-6, because I mean it's not even like a debate. All the beats nowadays, all the production and shit, everybody's that's a DJ Paul beat. That's everybody's got that trap sound that he started.
It's just something about Bone Thugs that I love so much. I don't know if it's just the way that they make their music, but it's just like that song.
They're the shit. I remember watching something on.
Bro, I'll never forget when we went to go see Snoop. Who was there from Bone Thugs? It was somebody we didn't expect to be there. Who was it? Was it Crazy Bone?
Oh no, it was the fact that it was all 5 of them.
Oh, they were all there.
Yeah, which is something you like never see. Yeah, no, because it was crazy. It was Snoop, and I had. It's weird because it was on that big ass Rupp Arena sold out stadium, and I had seen them a few months prior on this little stage at a base camp where I ended up opening for Twista around the same time. But Yeah, no, it was all of Bone, and that's what was so dope is because they were, I guess, known for, or they are known for, not having all five at a show. It's usually four or maybe down to three or maybe even two. But yeah, it was dope because it was all five, and yeah, that show was the shit. It was Snoop Dogg, Warren G. There's so many people at that show.
Yeah, but I had fun doing this, man. I gotta be up early in the morning, but we've been on here for like almost 2 hours. Jesus.
Yeah, for real?
Yeah, it's like, let me look.
About an hour and a half, yeah.
An hour and 25, 26 minutes. But
shit. Yeah,
man, like, shit, you're gonna be on more of these. You know what I mean? This is like the first official podcast. In the future, I'll have cameras and, it'll look more official, maybe like better audio, but, Yeah,
because I think all the interviews that I've done so far have only been audio.
Which is
like
fine.
With you, with other people.
Which is fine for like a beginning kind of thing, but like later on when I get, when I have more money, I can get better equipment, but this is fun. I like having a good conversation, talking about deep shit, like we did, even your music, we talked about that. We talked about a lot of things that I feel like some people need to hear and probably should hear and probably should take into consideration of maybe somebody's going to hear this and be like, well, damn, my life isn't as bad as I thought it was.
Yeah, for sure.
They may have lost a grandparent or maybe a parent and be like, well, damn, I've lost one person, my whole life is over. And then listen to us, we've lost like 4 or 5 people within our lifetime that we cared so much about.
I don't know, lost like 30, but
Jesus
I lost a lot of people. If you listen to,
that's more than me.
If you listen to my, speaking of Master P, my Bout It Lextown mix, shout out a lot of people on that song that have passed away. And then also Brad, who was a close family friend. Yeah. And then Avery recently, and there's a lot of people. A lot of people have passed, but
that's somebody.
That's why I say you just gotta.
Yeah. That's somebody I'm gonna have to go see before you leave too.
Avery site, yeah.
Yeah, I haven't been. I mean, we went to my dad's today and JP's. That was the first time I ever went to JP's.
We can go tomorrow. They close at 5.
Yeah, I get off at like 2:30, so we can definitely do that.
But
yeah, man, I had fun. If you guys want to follow Trace Aurland, his Instagram and Facebook is.
Yeah. You can find me on anything by just typing in TRES, and then my last name is AURLAND. There's not anybody else in the world that has my name, so it will pop up immediately. But I'm Trace Aurland on everything except Instagram, which is the real Trace Aurland. Because for some reason, I don't know if somebody tried to like take my name or what, but it doesn't allow me to change my name to just, Trace Aurland, so I have to do the real. And then there's like another page on there, it's like Aurland.Trace, so I'm like...
Which is probably good that you have, like the real Trace Aurland, because there's a lot of people that try to like make fake accounts just to get followers.
That's what I'm saying. If people, especially if people ever start making like fan pages and shit in the future, I want people to be able to know that, that's where my shit is. But I got all my stuff on... I got all my mixtapes and EPs on Dat Piff right now. I got the album Triumph finally coming. I've been working on this shit for almost 3 years. Definitely, just like with Spotify, all you gotta do is download the app and all the music's there. People always be wondering, man, you should put your stuff on Spotify. Well, this is just mixtape shit, and I don't own the beats to them or the rights to the beats. So that's why my shit's just for free on Dat Piff. But download the Dat Piff app, look up my name on there, Trace Aurland, and all my shit pops up. All the Lost Files series, the Lightwork trilogy, Can I Borrow Your Beat mixtape, the 3 Times Hot EP, bonus tracks EP, the If the Music's Too Loud mixtape, all that shit's on there. And yeah, just follow me on everything and look out for new shit, because I got a lot of projects in the works.
And you have a lot of famous features that that you're
Oh
about,
yeah.
which we're not gonna get into because that's just you're gonna have to go
It's
and
a
listen to
surprise.
his music, and yes, it's gonna be a huge surprise.
It's a surprise. The features is crazy.
Yeah, it is. I saw like you sent me most of the names and the songs without their verses because they haven't sent you the verses yet, but it's gonna be crazy. But thank you guys for actually listening, and hopefully some of you guys take something away from this. Hopefully something positive and not negative. And yeah, hope you guys have a great day. And as always,